Novak Djokovic is on a record-setting roll. Just last week, he won a record-tying 6th Nitto ATP Finals trophy. Given his age, we were all shocked to see this development. In fact, a lot of us thought this was the best he could be. What's even more incredible is that Goran Ivanisevic is of the opinion that Djokovic is only going to keep getting better. So let's dive in.
So far, it's very smooth, great. He's an unbelievable guy, conversation is great.
First up, what is Goran Ivanisevic saying? Ivanisevic is a former world number 2, and when a player of his caliber speaks, we take his word seriously. This Sunday, Ivanisevic told the world something shocking that the rest of the ATP Tour could not even have conceived. The Croatian has been coaching Djokovic, and it's his opinion that the 35-year-old has not hit his peak just yet. There is more to come. Ivanisevic told the audience that Djokovic has been practicing harder and harder. He was putting in more effort than he was at the young age of 22. Because of this hard work, he'd continue to improve from his younger days. In fact, the coach predicted that the impressive player was only going to keep getting better. Now, it's very heartwarming to see when a coach is this proud of his charge. The 51-year-old did not hold back with his compliments for the player, as he added that the athlete's will to keep practicing and to keep improving was amazing. Plus, his desire to get better was unmatched. What's more, Djokovic has been taking very good care of his body, and Ivanisevic was almost shocked to observe this. He was moved when he commented that in his time, players would retire at 30 or 31, like tennis was a game for athletes in their 20s alone, and as you reach your 30s, you were essentially ready to retire. Djokovic, however, is an unbelievable force of nature, which is why his fitness and will to improve have left the coach in shock. Next up, Djokovic is breaking records for his age. Would you believe us if we told you that he's just turned 35? Just look at his spectacular performance last week. He's no different from a 20-year-old ready to take over the tennis world, and yet he was able to break the record for the oldest champion in tournament history. The GOAT we all know as Roger Federer was the player who last held this record, and even he won it at the young age of 30 back in 2011. Ivanisevic was practically raving with pride for his charge. He seemed to think that younger players were rightfully hyped up, but the older players were just as deserving of attention. He drew everyone's attention to Roger and Rafa just a couple of years ago, and how they'd gotten too good towards the end of their careers. Sure, we all hear about exciting younger players who have the potential to change tennis. Carlos Alcaraz, for instance, became the youngest number 1 in the world this year, which was unbelievable. However, the Croatian insisted that Novak was still hungry for more. He's still winning the tournaments, playing unbelievable tennis, and the 35-year-old champion seems to be focusing on preparing for the next season now.
Djokovic is the champion.
Coming up, what do we know about Djokovic's game? We all know Djokovic as a relentless baseliner. He's proven himself to be a spectacular mover who's been his most impressive self in high-pressure games. However, he broke our expectations by playing a new kind of game this Sunday. He was completely dominating Casper Ruud with his devastating serve. He didn't even face a break point. Ivanisevic was once again all compliments when he talked about Djokovic's serve. He said that Djokovic's serve was actually a very underestimated shot all of his career. If we look at his matches, and the way he's played 5 or even 10 years ago, his serve would always save him. It's shocking that the Serbian is even better now. The coach couldn't contain his excitement as he glowed and complimented Djokovic's serve. He said that because Novak always wanted to improve, his serve this week had an amazing percentage and even better precision. Whenever he needed it to, he would hit an unpredictable first serve. To put a cherry on top of the cake, his second serve would end up being even better. Ivanisevic discussed Djokovic's serve in more detail. He told the audience that it's one of his best shots, but people don't talk about it. This is because they forget about the serve in the eagerness to talk about all the other great things about him. But it remains undeniable, Djokovic's serve is one of the best out there. It is truly unbelievable under pressure. Ivanisevic only had praises to sing. Now let's talk about Djokovic's current form. Djokovic has been on a roll. The Siberian player just finished his season with 5 titles under his belt. His season highlight was his triumph at the Pala Alpi Tour, which was his 21st major at Wimbledon and 38th ATP Masters 100 crown in Rome. Ivanisevic went on to say that Djokovic is the kind of player who will help the sport move forward and evolve. And honestly, he's got a point here. We're not only seeing a 35-year-old tennis player continue to play, but also thrive. He's scaring the youngsters out there who, despite their youth, just can't beat his stamina and technique. Besides, maybe his experience does give him an edge. What's more, Ivanisevic has faith in Djokovic's will to improve. He says that the Siberian hasn't given up because of his age, and he wants to improve all the time. He's been focusing on his body ability, and you can see it from the way he moved on the court and slides. Ivanisevic marveled at the 21-time Grand Slam winner's ability and traced the trends of older players not only playing well on the field, but pretty much playing the best tennis out there. They're looking unbelievable, he said. Also, just to have the confidence of your coach like that, a top player who believes in you and guides you, Novak is truly living the dream.
I'm very hungry to prove that I'm still one of the best players in the world, that I can win big trophies.
Let's turn to Novak's performance at the Nitto ATP. Novak had already done well enough in terms of red group progress to secure his spot in the Nitto ATP finals. He could have taken it easy in his match against Daniil Medvedev. The tennis star showed his exceptional champion mentality despite the safe final spot. He won a tough 3-hour battle to extend his perfect record of 3-0 on the week. Sure, some were concerned about the effect this kind of tough game must have left on him. After all, he was clearly grasping for breath. Plus, many thought he wouldn't be fit enough to play and win Saturday's elimination match. Though, the player himself thought it was different. When asked if he had pushed himself beyond his limits, he responded that he didn't think there was any limit. What a champ. Djokovic discussed his mental state during the play. He said the fatigue is all in your head, and overcoming it is all about perspective, focus, and your perception of things at the given moment. Although he did admit that if you've got physical problems, it'll affect the game, how you feel, and even your body language. He talked about getting into an optimal state of mind and bringing out the best of the best results from yourself. Not to mention, even when the opponent wants to completely dominate him, he pushes through and focuses on the game and what's in front of him. Hearing about the 35-year-old's mental strength when facing his years younger juniors was inspiring. And now we move to discuss what the top coach has to say about this. Patrick Mouratoglou is a top coach, and he has lots to say about Djokovic. He announced to the world that the biggest news in tennis was here. Djokovic was allowed to play at the Australian Open, and he'll probably be able to play a minimum of 3 Grand Slams next year. This is a total and complete change, of course, since he was banned from competing earlier this year. Now, Djokovic has been winning the most Grand Slams for a few years at this point, and the only time, according to Mouratoglou, that Novak didn't win was because Wimbledon was cancelled. So without that, the coach thinks he'd have scored around 2 and 3 Grand Slams each year. It seems like Novak is the talk of the season, with big shots all around singing his praises and predicting some highly successful seasons for him in the coming years. Finally, what can we expect next from Djokovic and his opponents? Mouratoglou had some interesting comments about Djokovic's upcoming opponents. He questioned just how long Djokovic will play Rafa. He even wondered if the newbies like Daniil Medvedev, Alcaraz, and Sinner will be able to win Grand Slams against a player like Novak. Could they prevent him from winning 2 to 3 times a year? This is a huge compliment, of course, especially when it's coming from Mouratoglou. He told the audience that he was really excited to find out the answers to these questions. He's clearly shown that he's got high hopes for Novak's career and thinks the player has it in him to keep the younger players at a distance from the big trophies. What could be in store for the 35-year-old who just finished the season on a high on Sunday? We all can't wait from all the excitement to find out. And that's a wrap for today's video. How much longer do you think can Djokovic extend his run of dominance? Do leave us a comment to let us know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you for the next video.